10 Keys and Secrets to a Happy Life According to Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius, the famous Stoic emperor-philosopher, offered valuable reflections on how to achieve happiness through self-discipline, virtue, and acceptance of reality. His Meditations are an invaluable source of wisdom on this topic, and although he does not provide an easy formula for happiness, he offers a series of principles that can guide people toward a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Below I present the 5 keys of Marcus Aurelius plus 5 keys from his book, Meditations, to cultivate a happy life and worry less. 1. It takes very little to be happy. Maybe when you look back at your life you think, I'm too old and I'm not famous or wealthy, and I haven't achieved anything important in my life. Keep learning and working on your human values, the quality of your relationships, and your spirituality or inner freedom. That is the key to being happy, and, what's more, it's free. In the context of Stoicism, it takes very little to be happy suggests that happiness is not determined by wealth, social status, or external success, but by the ability to find satisfaction and contentment in the simple things in life. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that true happiness lies in cultivating a serene and virtuous mind, in accepting reality as it is, and in appreciating the blessings we have in our lives, no matter how small. This analysis invites us to reflect on the ephemeral and fleeting nature of material and external things. Marcus Aurelius urges us to seek happiness within, in the development of self-discipline, virtue, and gratitude, rather than depending on external sources of pleasure or satisfaction. By adopting this perspective, we can free ourselves from the endless cycle of constantly wanting and seeking more, and find a greater sense of peace and fulfillment in our lives. 2. If you want to keep a good mood, do a few things. If you want to be in a good mood, do few things. Most of the things you think, do, and say are not as necessary as you think. If you suppress them, you will have more free time and you will be calmer. Ask yourself the following questions continually. Is this really necessary? Is it useful? Unnecessary thoughts lead to useless actions. You go into a loop, and then you lose your good mood. This advice can be interpreted from several perspectives within the framework of Stoic philosophy. 1. Self-discipline and focus. Marcus Aurelius suggests that by reducing the number of things we do, we can focus our energy and attention on those activities that are truly meaningful and that contribute to our emotional and spiritual well-being. This involves practicing self-discipline to avoid dispersion and overexertion, and instead, focusing on what really brings us happiness and satisfaction. 2. Simplicity and mental clarity. By doing a few things, we simplify our lives and reduce the stress and anxiety that can arise from trying to do too much in a short time. Taking a more minimalist approach allows us to enjoy greater mental and emotional clarity, which contributes to a more balanced and calm state of mind. 3. Appreciation and gratitude. By doing fewer things, we also have more time and space to appreciate and enjoy the little things in life. This allows us to cultivate an attitude of gratitude toward what we have rather than constantly worrying about what we lack, which can contribute to a more positive and satisfying state of mind. 3. Things don't affect you so much, you will live better. The potential to live in the best way lies in the soul, and the quality of your interior depends on you. Whatever happens in your life, it is something external, immobile. It has not been imposed on you and you do not have to judge it. Leave the page inside you blank and, if any judgment appears, delete it instantly. This advice can be interpreted from several perspectives within the framework of Stoic philosophy. 1. Acceptance of reality. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that much of human suffering comes from our resistance to reality as it is. By accepting that we cannot control everything that happens around us, we can free ourselves from the suffering caused by our fight against the inevitable and find greater inner peace. 2. Emotional detachment. By not allowing external circumstances to affect us so much emotionally, we can free ourselves from the cycle of expectations, desires, and fears that can disturb our inner tranquility. Cultivating a sense of emotional detachment allows us to experience greater freedom and emotional balance in all situations. 3. Perspective and mental clarity. By not letting things affect us as much, we can maintain a clearer and more objective perspective on life. This allows us to make wiser and more conscious decisions, instead of being carried away by the emotions of the moment. 4. Gratitude and appreciation. By not allowing things to affect us as much, we can also cultivate a greater appreciation for the simple, everyday things in life. This allows us to experience greater gratitude for what we have and find joy in the little things, which contributes to an overall sense of well-being and happiness. 4. To be happy, worry a little less. Your happiness consists in tuning into your daimon, inner wisdom. Do not let your weakness be altered by your imagination. If you worry about problems that have not yet happened, you better think, get out of here, imagination. Don't distract me inventing worries. I am not angry with you, but go away. This advice can be interpreted from several perspectives within the framework of Stoic philosophy. 1. Acceptance of reality. Marcus Aurelius urges us to accept that there are things that are beyond our control and that worrying excessively about them only causes us unnecessary suffering. By freeing ourselves from worrying about what we cannot control, we can find greater inner peace and serenity. 2. Focus on what we can control. Worrying excessively about things over which we have no control distracts us from what really matters, our own actions and attitudes. Marcus Aurelius reminds us of the importance of focusing on what we can control and making conscious, wise decisions instead of wasting energy and time worrying about what is beyond our reach. 3. Living in the present moment. Worrying too much about the future or regretting the past prevents us from fully enjoying the present. Marcus Aurelius invites us to live in the present moment and do the best we can with what we have here and now, instead of worrying about what might happen in the future. 4. Practice gratitude and acceptance. By freeing ourselves from excessive worry, we can cultivate greater gratitude for the simple, everyday things in life and accept reality as it is. This allows us to find joy and satisfaction in the present moment, regardless of external circumstances. 5. Thinking about death helps you clarify your priorities in life. Remember that you will not live forever. Act, speak and think as if you were about to leave this life. This way, you will have clearer priorities and better manage your time. This advice can be interpreted from several perspectives within the framework of Stoic philosophy. 1. Perspective and mental clarity. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that life is finite and that our existence is temporary. By confronting the reality of our own mortality, we can gain a clearer perspective on what is truly important in our lives. This allows us to discern between the trivial and the significant, and focus on what we really want to achieve during our brief stay in this world. 2. Valuation of time. Reflection on death urges us to value the time we have in this life and not take it for granted. Recognizing that our existence is limited motivates us to make the most of every moment, dedicating time and energy to activities and relationships that bring us meaning and satisfaction. 3. Acceptance of impermanence. As we reflect on death, we also come to accept the transitory nature of all things in life. This helps us release attachment to material things and worldly concerns, and focus on cultivating meaningful relationships, contributing to the well-being of others, and living in accordance with our deepest values. 4. Motivation for action. The awareness of death drives us to act with purpose and determination in our lives. It reminds us that time is precious and that we should not postpone our goals and aspirations for the future. Instead of procrastinating, it urges us to take concrete steps to pursue our dreams and live an authentic and meaningful life. Marco kept a record of his thoughts and reflections, compiled in a work called Meditations, which is widely considered one of the greatest books of Western civilization. His thinking was influenced by many philosophers, but especially by those of the Greek school of philosophy called Stoicism, practiced and developed by many Roman thinkers, including Marcus himself, as well as the statesmen Seneca and Epictetus, a formerly enslaved Stoic teacher who had a considerable impact on Marco's thinking. Self-discipline plays a crucial role in the path to happiness according to Marcus Aurelius. He urges us to practice moderation in all things, avoiding excess and seeking balance in our actions and desires. In his own words, learn to be satisfied with what you have, while pursuing what you want. Virtue is another fundamental pillar in the search for happiness, according to Marcus Aurelius. It teaches us to cultivate kindness, compassion, honesty, and justice in all our actions, always seeking to act in accordance with our highest ethical principles. In his words, virtue is the only thing that can bring true happiness. Gratitude also plays an important role in the path to happiness, according to Marcus Aurelius. He urges us to appreciate the blessings we have in our lives and not take them for granted. In his own words, thank nature for everything it has given you, both the good and the bad. Everything contributes to your growth and development as a person. Connecting with others and serving others are also important aspects in the pursuit of happiness, according to Marcus Aurelius. He reminds us that we are part of a larger community and that finding meaning in our relationships with others can bring us deep satisfaction. In the words of Marcus Aurelius himself, live not only for yourself, but for the good of humanity. The book Meditations is a collection of personal writings, parts of which read like a self-guide manual, a guide to living a good and honorable life. It is full of short, quotable maxims and sentences that seem more like a recounting of daily reminders that Marco wrote to himself than a philosophical treatise. Meditations touches on a wide range of topics, with ideas ranging from one topic to another. What Marco says in Meditations has value for us today, almost 2 millennia since he wrote down his ideas. There is a lot to analyze from Meditations, but let me share 5 key ideas that have resonated through time to this day, in the form of the question, what would Marco do? 1. Don't get too attached to things. In the Stoic tradition, Marco reminds us that all life is finite and that everything we have accumulated will eventually be given to death. Or as people today might say, we can't take it with us. Despite their different stations in life, Alexander the Great and his muleteer ended up in the same place. The Stoics believed that wealth was better than poverty, so they did not prescribe that we should live a naked, ascetic existence. But we must have a detached attitude towards the things that we eventually need to return and not waste our lives in the vain attempt to accumulate as many things as possible. So what counts in the Stoic tradition? One might think in terms of classical values, such as leading a productive life, contributing to society, forming close relationships with friends and family, and finding a place for oneself in the world. Enjoy life, the Stoics might say, but at the end of the day, it's what you make of your life that counts, not the possessions you accumulate. Modern psychology supports Marco's claim that happiness is not derived from possessions. It's true that we may experience a momentary burst of excitement when driving a new car or purchasing another shiny new object. But after a short time, the charm of the new item fades, along with its shine. It becomes just another thing, and we shift our attention to acquiring another shiny new object, only to find that its glow soon fades after we have acquired it. At a deeper level, it is the meaningful experiences we share with others that bring true happiness, not the accumulation of objects we once imagined. 2. Recognize that everything changes, even us. Looking at old photos or videos of yourself can be a humbling experience that shows how much we've changed over the years. We must accept that change is a fundamental fact of life. Many of us struggle to accept the many faces of change, growing older, adapting to new technologies and changing social institutions, etc. We may make fun of middle-aged people who try to pass as 20-somethings, but embracing life changes is difficult for many people. One of her patients expressed how she no longer recognized herself as she approached middle age. The challenge, of course, is to embrace and get to know who one has become, not to cling to a fixed image of one's younger self. 3. It all depends on how you think about things. Along with other Stoics, Marcus recognized that what affects us are the judgments we make about things, not the things themselves. More than a millennium later, William Shakespeare framed the issue directly, writing in Hamlet, "Things are neither good nor bad, but thought makes them so." Marco realized that while we cannot control external events, the power we have over our own mind is a source of strength. He tells us that everything we hear is opinion, not fact, and everything we see is perspective, not truth. Knowing these crucial differences means that we cannot hope to control external events, but we can control how we perceive them and how we react to them. Take, for example, the desire to want to please others. As understandable as this desire may be, it is irrational to expect everyone to pay tribute to our good qualities or approve of everything we do. A common theme seen in therapy practice is the tendency to base self-esteem on what other people do or say, to need the approval of others in order to approve of oneself. At this point, Marco's writing anticipates current approaches to therapy when he stated, "It never ceases to amaze me, we all love ourselves more than other people, but we care more about their opinion than our own." Helping people develop assertiveness skills allows them to express their needs and perspectives respectfully, without attacking the other person or assigning blame. But just as important is the recognition that we cannot control how other people respond to us, we can only control what we do and what we say. Since we cannot control what others do, we should not put our self-esteem in the hands of other people. Rather, we need to put the I back into self-esteem and give ourselves credit for what we do, not condemn ourselves for how others may treat or mistreat us. Marco believed that if someone hurts us or despises us, that is their problem. Let's not make it ours. No one else can control your emotions or push your emotional buttons unless you let them. 4. Live life in the present. When you wake up in the morning, think about what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Tomorrow never comes, nor can it be promised. Marco recognized that the only time we are given in this life is the present, so he encourages us to make the most of it. This doesn't mean throwing caution to the wind and living just for today. Marcus, like other Stoics, was a practical man, believing in building a life worth living, not indulging in each and every desire or passion of the moment. But he reminds us that life is finite and that the span of life is small. Moments turn into hours and then days, never to return. So yes, Marco reminds us that we should be grateful every morning for the privilege of living another day, thinking, enjoying and loving. 5. Find your place in the world. What do we exist for? Just to occupy space and pass through time? To lament, waiting for our lives to begin? Or to make the most of the time we have? We are members of a family and a community. None of us are an island, enough to ourselves. As Marco wrote, we should not fear death, but rather we should fear never beginning to live. In summary, Marcus Aurelius offers us a series of secrets and keys to a happy life, including acceptance of reality, self-discipline, virtue, gratitude and connection with others. Through consistent practice of these principles, we can find a deeper sense of satisfaction and fulfillment in our lives. If you liked the video, don't forget to support us with a like, subscribing to the channel, sharing and telling us what other topics we can address in the following videos. Thank you very much for watching. Ideal Stoicism.